Just one moment, please.
Follow Marcus Garvey today. Why can't follow? Come on, follow Marcus Garvey today. Why can't follow? Everywhere we go, I and I will go. And everything he say, oh yes it's hard. So I can I follow him. Come on, let us follow. Follow, Marcus, yeah, why can't I follow? He never commit no crime. He always do right. So why can't I follow Marcus Garvey? Why can't I follow? Follow Marcus Garvey today. Follow. He never disobey his grandmother. No. He always obey his grandfather. So why can't I follow him?
Yes, greetings, one and all. And thank you once again for joining another big and serious discussion here on Unity and Solidarity TV. So, of course, we're so happy to have you. I really hope that ones and ones enjoyed the podcast that we had last week about the Honorable Carlos Cox, known as the Undaunted and the ideological son of the most honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, from right here, St. Martin. I mean, of St. Martin parentage. He was born on the beautiful island of the Dominican Republic, but of St. Martin heritage, and that is St. Martin's gift to the world. The same way how Grenada gave Maurice Bishop, no, the same way how Aruba gave the world Maurice Bishop, because he was conceived in Aruba, and of course returned to Grenada, and that's of course our gift to the world, in so many respects. So, family, just before we get into it, I just have a few announcements. I really want to encourage ones and ones to pay very keen attention to the developments that's happening now in our sister country, Kenya. For those of you who's been following very closely, we see that the youth in Kenya has risen up, in protest, and has mobilized, their frustrations with regards to the finance bill. which only seeks to serve the interests of the imperial powers. I speak of none other than the World Bank and the IMF and the other members of the cabal, but it has a number of lessons to be learned from that particular movement, and we would do ourselves a great disservice by not paying attention. New information reaching my person suggests that the youth in Ghana are gaining inspiration by what they're seeing by their brothers and sisters in Kenya, because we know Ghana, if I'm not mistaken, just recently signed on to another loan agreement with the IMF. So those are going to be some very, very important developments that we simply must keep our eyes on. Besides that, family, on Tuesday, the 2nd of July 2024, will be the 99th Earth Strong of the indomitable Patrice Lumumba, Prime Minister of the Congo, right? And of course, in whatever you do on that day, please take a moment to reflect about his life, his legacy, and of course, extract whatever lessons we can learn from this great African statesman into our day-to-day reality. So don't forget, Tuesday, July 2nd, is the Earth Strong of the Honorable Patrice Lumumba. May his name live on forever and ever. Also, family, on Monday, July 1st, R&R will be at the Emilia Wilson Park in Cul-de-Sac, and we will be selling our homemade signature pastiches, pastries, drinks, such as our natural juices, homemade pancha crema, and of course, some other delights. We are going to be there from 12 p.m. until everything is done. So, of course, there'll be a number of activities to commemorate Emancipation Day on the southern side of St. Martin. Of course, there'll be speeches and renditions, and it's going to be a fun day, a great day to reflect upon the struggles of our ancestors, right? And of course, to recommit ourselves, because we know that liberation and freedom is an ongoing process. So we have to recommit ourselves to continuing and advancing that which our ancestors, our glorious ancestors, start a few centuries ago. So, of course, as I said earlier, there'll be the homemade pancha crema. It's coming in 2 flavors, which is pistachio and coconut. And we have different prices. A large cup, of course, is $5. Then we have the bottle for $10.20. And then, of course, in terms of the natural juices, there'll be sorrel, mango, ginger, and of course, tamarind. Perfect to quench your thirst in this unforgiving summer heat. Right? Family, we have a few podcasts coming up. Today, June 30th, of course, we are going to be talking about what went wrong in Azania, South Africa, in light of the recent elections and all that is happening. But today, again, at 5 p.m. St. Martin time, I'll be joined by Mr. Khalil Revan as we have a discussion, a part 2 actually, about winds of change, the potential impact a right-wing government will have on the island of St. Martin. So you don't want to miss that. And of course, next week, July 7th, we will come back to you at 5 p.m., of course, St. Martin time, where we'll be having the leader of the People's Labour Party from St. Eustatius, Ms. Richeline Lerda, and she will be discussing, sharing her perspectives as to the potential impact a right-wing government will have for her beautiful island, St. Eustatius. So you don't want to miss that, right? And of course, we invite you, brothers and sisters, to check out our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/@Unity&Solidarity TV, all one word. And of course, you can check out the link or the live on the Facebook page, which is bakari.makeru. All right. And so please remember to subscribe, like, share, and follow. And of course, check out our past podcasts on several issues. So family, let's get right into it. Okay, let's get right into it. Today, I am joined by two extremely knowledgeable and powerful brothers in the person of Brother Jegna and, of course, in the person of Ilandugwe Ishitile. I hope I got it right because I've been practicing, and if not, I'll just continue practicing, you know. But I am joined by these two very, very brothers to help us understand, you know, what went wrong in Azania. And of course, for those who might not be familiar with what we're talking about, on the 29th of May 2024, the people of Azania went to elect a new National Assembly. More than 50 political parties contested the elections. For the first time in its 30-year history, the African National Congress lost its majority in parliament. This comes as no surprise to many, as support for the ANC has been on a steady decline since 2004. Naturally, there are no shortage of reasons in circulation to explain this development. Sure enough, the ANC reached out to several political parties to form what is commonly referred to as a government of national unity. The first government of national unity took place 30 years ago and was brokered by the late Nelson Mandela. The ANC formed a coalition with the National Party that ruled during apartheid and the Zulu Nationalist Inkatha Freedom Party, amongst others. The current government of the National Unity consists of the African National Congress, the Democratic Alliance, the Inkatha Freedom Party, the Freedom Front Plus, the Pan-African Congress, Rise Nzanzi, the Good Party, Patriotic Alliance, the United Democratic Movement, and Al Jama'ah. So as I said, I am here joined by two powerful brothers, and with their assistance, they are going to help us make sense of what's happened. So starting off with Brother Hilongwandunge, of course, please introduce yourself, tell us about your organizations and your activities, and then I'll ask Brother Jegna to do the same. Unmute your mic, yes.
Yeah. Well. My name is Hilongwandunge Ishitile. First, I'm an African who was born in Southern Africa, a country which was colonized by Germany. It was called Southwest Germany. Currently, it's called Namibia. I'm here representing CRM. CRM is a continental revolution, which was founded by all African in South Africa and abroad. Yeah, we are anti-democracy because democracy did not do justice to Africa since it is come in more than 60 years. Never give us the real liberation that we want. Yeah, that is me. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Brother Jegna.
Yes, my brother Bakari. Yes, sir. Yes, I'm really glad to be back on your show again. One of the excellent leading shows, man, for Pan-Africanists and Black people around the world. All right, yes, so my name is Brother Jegna. I'm based in the UK, in London. I'm the leader of Afrocentricity International in the UK. I'm also a member of the CRM, like my brother Hilongwandunge. I'm a member of the CRM as well, in relation to media and just a spokesperson for them as well. So the show we have today is a very important show. Mandela came out. The original election was 1994. ANC had a big majority in the democratic election, as they call it, and we are at a different space right now. So there are many questions that needs to be answered. So I've heard some people say online, boy, it's the end for African people now in Azania. Azania, as many of you may know, some may not know, It's more the correct name for South Africa. This is what the Africans call their land, Azania. Azania is more of a correct name. But I think maybe today we can maybe touch on some of the major points, what's happening in our beloved land, as they call it, as a movie about Mandela was called Our Beloved Land. So I think we've quite a few questions will come up today that we need to try to answer. My brother, yeah? Brother B.
All right.
Yeah.
Give thanks. So let's start off with this, right? What were your immediate reactions when you learned the outcome of the elections? What was the first reaction that went through? Let's start with Brother Hilongwandunge.
Yeah, you're on mute, but Hilongwandunge. Yeah, that's it.
I'm okay now. My first reaction when I heard the report that the South African voters only 58% turn up for voting, whereby 42% never turn up. I was very happy to hear that, because these votings, it doesn't give us a really liberation as an African.
I think it froze.
Oh. Okay, you might need to reconnect Hilongwandunge. So if I can come in then until he comes back. There's a good point he just made there, because he said about it was kind of a low turnout, and maybe up to 42% didn't vote.
The constitutional referendum.
Oh, okay.
Make our own law, never to just to be ruled by the law which was.
Go ahead.
Am I cutting?
Yeah, you come now and again. You go ahead. Yeah, our brother Hilongwandunge is in West Africa, and his connection is not the strongest at the moment. He comes and goes. But the point he made earlier about 42% did not vote, I mean, that if just 10, 20 of that 40% did vote, the ANC will still have got in. If that 10% from that 42% came in and voted for the ANC, they will be the majority in the government.
Yes.
So I suppose the issue is why, another question could be why the 40%, 42%, I mean, in most nations, you see high turnouts or low turnouts, but 42%, you could almost say nearly 50% of the country did not want to vote. So that's another question. Why are some people so disillusioned
It could be
democracy?
It could be, based on I mean, I haven't done as much research as I would have wanted to, but based on what I've seen, the country seems to be gripped in a host of social and economic issues. We can't forget the regular power outages. We can't forget the high unemployment. We can't ignore the inequalities that persist, albeit under the ANC. Not to mention the host of corruption scandals you see that has rocked the party. So it's really, really a number of things that I think may have contributed towards its waning significance. You see, because many would argue that it's not the same ANC as it were, let's say, under the leadership of Nelson Mandela.
I agree with you there. I mean, those reasons which you mentioned, and I've read about it, and they are the key reasons. The disillusionment comes from just services, government services to the poor are very poor. They're not getting the services they need. You spoke about widespread power cuts, power outages. Correct. I was speaking to a brother in Durban. This was last year, and my brother's of a Zulu extract, and he says power failures are kind of killing the business there. And he showed me a video of him walking just down the street in Bourbon, and outside the shops, you see like a little generator outside virtually every single shop to give them power. So power outages is a bad thing, you know, for business or homes alone. So again, the question would be, who is in control of the power grid? Is it the government? Is it an outside company? I mean, these are the questions we need to know. But a country so wealthy as, when I say wealthy, I mean a lot of people don't have that wealth, but as wealthy as Azania, why are they having power outages? That's something seriously wrong. And you did mention the corruption. I mean, we know Zuma, he was caught with his hands in the till, and, you know, buying, like, building for himself a beautiful house and all the mod cons when people are in poverty. So it seems like one of the things is that the ANC, or at least some members of the ANC, are not thinking about the people. They're not thinking about the people. Our African leaders should be thinking about the people. We know many of our great leaders, they thought about the people first. Sadly, many of those are the ones where the West and other people make sure they get ousted and thrown out. But, you know, your first job as a government must be to the people. So the people are safe and secure, so the people are fed, they got food, and, you know, also that they've got a job. So clearly the ANC have taken their eye off the ball. I mean, the EFF with Julius Malema, he left the ANC because he was a key member at one stage, because he became disillusioned and decided to create his own party. So clearly there are issues in the ANC, which, because even if I know we can speak later on that democracy is not really an African device, but either way, it's the system which is in place now until they change it. That's if they do change it. You know, there's issues with the parties, and the ANC had such a majority, massive majority they had. So how can it go from massive majority to now losing that full majority? So they need 50% to have the majority to rule the government, and I think they're down to 40.2 or something like that at the moment.
Correct.
Yeah. Yes.
Correct.
So these are some of the issues that come up to my mind. So, my brother Hilongwandunge, can you hear us clearly now? You're on mute.
Yeah, you're on mute.
Yeah, King.
Yeah.
You want to unmute yourself? Yes.
I hear you clear now.
Yeah.
We
So
were
what
just
are your
having
views?
maybe a switch off of network, but I
No
hear
problem.
you
No
now well.
problem.
Okay, so you were sharing your thoughts with regards to democracy not basically designed in the interest of Africans, right? And I wanted to know if you could continue to expound further on that thought.
Yeah. The question is that you ask how do I feel to hear the report of South African election result? Yeah, whereby he said it was good to us. To CRM was good news, because we are campaigning for democrats to die in Africa. That
Explain.
African must be free, because we are still colonized with democracy. As you see well, and you see what is happening in Africa. Yeah, democracy just become a baptism of colonial, because even in the constitution that we have, that you are having, drafted by those colonizers, the constitution have to be drafted by United Nations, which is consists of Roman empires who are colonizers, which doesn't make any sense. And there's the same law of colonial that we inherit, and the same law that we are now using in our people. It doesn't benefit any African. And again, this partisan is the aim of dividing African people. Those one who have got capacity to think and come together, they are divided in small parties, so that they cannot work together. So that these colonizers, they must still keeping what they have still during colonization. That is what we feel in CRM, and is what many African people now feel. That's why they are not even interested in voting. If you check the population of South Africa is 61 million, and the registered voter were only 27 million. We are talking about 61 million, and 27 million have registered. And out of 27 million, only 58% who turn up for voting. People are tired of this system.
But is it that they're tired of the system? Is it that they're tired of the system,
yes,
or have they simply become disgruntled with the poor services, with the macroeconomic conditions that the government at the time failed to deliver on its promises? I'm trying to figure out which one exactly is it.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, I hear you. Yeah.
Yeah.
The government will not deliver because government is also in the same neo-colonization like it is people. How do you expect the government to deliver if certain people who were colonizers are the one who own economy? Economy is owned by those colonizers. The land is owned by those colonizers. Then the government have to go, in order to survive, have to go to IMF to get loans. Why do we have to go to IMF and get loan if we have got resources in our countries? Because resources are hoarded by the colonizers. They are the one who own the mining, the fishing, the diamonds,
the land,
the land, agriculture. This is things that it is done so that any African leader who is coming in have to fail, because they don't have resources in their hands, and they don't want to ask resources, because whenever they're asking these resources, they will be taken out and replaced with another puppet who is on the other side.
But do you, because
we're
according to if I'm not mistaken, one of the conditions.
Bakari?
Yes, sorry. Go ahead.
Are we together?
What do you mean?
I'm hearing you. You go ahead, Bakari. What point were you making, Bakari? See if you can hear that.
So my thing is that, if I'm not mistaken, there was a whole discussion. There was a whole discussion about land appropriation and land expropriation without compensation.
Yeah, I think our network is not very good.
Or the network. Okay, maybe if you stop your camera, that might assist with your bandwidth. Could you try that?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Let's see if it gets any better. Yes.
Yeah, let's see if it gets any better.
I mean, you are correct. There was a big outcry led by the EFF in particular, saying that land. I mean, as we know, land revolutions are fought over land.
Yes.
Revolutions don't really fought over the vote.
Correct.
They've got the vote, but they are generally in a very similar position to what they were before the end of apartheid, or before democracy really started for everybody. So we can see that there are a small handful of middle-class Africans, black people, Africans who are making some money. but the vast majority still are in a relatively weak, impoverished kind of state.
Correct.
See that the key to people's freedom is not about the vote. Vote is important. The vote can be important. You see in the US, they were voting the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party, black people will be better off under the Democratic Party than under the Republican Party.
Okay.
Not greatly, but still you can see in South Africa now where the land is theirs or the country is theirs. Unfortunately, Madiba, he left Europeans, because that's what they are. Because remember there's some big signs up. This is a European beach, and this is a European hotel, you know. So they left them really with the hands on the wealth, on the land in particular. And even Winnie Mandela says, you've given them too much. So the land has really got to be the key. I mean, when I go to the shops here in the UK, and so much of the fruit, when I'm buying fruit, you see on the label, South Africa, South Africa. But who owns these farms?
Correct.
You know, for the most part, it's the same people who stole the land, who were the Europeans.
Correct.
That is the real wealth is made from there. And also, you know, a lot of the institution, banking, insurance, the mines, are still held by the same thieves who came in the invaders and colonizers, are still hanging on to the handles of wealth. So I think this is the real issue. Because if democracy had worked kind of good, if democracy was working good, maybe many more people would be voting, even though they may not like the system in particular. But I think on one hand, the people are still in poverty. They have seen their condition generally hasn't changed. And then they've seen that, I don't know, the politicians who are in power, generally they're not doing the job that they should be doing. But I think, as my brother Hilongwandunge said, most nations are ruled from outside of the nation. IMF, World Bank, the UN are still controlled by the people who enslave people, colonize people.
Correct.
Yeah, I think that is a real key issue. And anytime we've seen an African country who start to progress nicely, and you can see they've got a thought out plan, Ghana, for example, you see that the leader will be overthrown very quickly. When people will think about the people, not for themselves.
Yep.
So, you know, so I think that is an issue of it. On the one hand, things are controlled from outside. And on the other hand, when you get an African leader who, okay, he's got a good plan. Magufuli, he had a plan. He kind of was getting rid of corruption. He made sure that the people were picking up wages. He checked it, and loads of people were claiming wages, and they didn't really exist. There was just a name on a piece of paper. So he cut out a lot of the corruption in the hospitals, in different places. And then before you know it, Magufuli was taken out. He made sure that the West had to agree and renegotiate a lot of the deals what they had, because they were just ripping off the people, ripping off the nation. So he renegotiated so many deals with Europeans, with Chinese, you name it. And sadly, he was taken out. He was a healthy man. He spoke out about the COVID, that we don't need all these vaccines. We can take care of ourselves, because he was a scientist. So he had an understanding that we could take care of ourselves, and sadly he was taken out. So the powers from outside the nation are so powerful that people inside the nation are beholden to. I think that's some of the issue there that we need to understand. Lose your poverty. If you think you've got to vote, so I vote. I think there's been about 7 elections since Mandela.
A little more, I think.
Okay.
I think it's a little more.
Yeah, true, 94, true. And then if every 4 or 5 years, and then I'm still in the same position. Why do I vote? Because I vote. I'm not in any better position. So you can understand a lot of the reason why people are disillusioned with the vote.
But do you think because of course politicians will be politicians, right? And they always promise to improve the lives of the electorate, the people, right?
Mm,
We are seeing a national government of unity. However, the other bigger parties, right, such as the EFF and the new party, the let me see, Umkonto with Sizwe,
that's right.
right?
Yes.
They were, amongst others, were excluded from the arrangement. However, I did hear a few ideas being floated around that suggests that, and I hope I am wrong, and if I am wrong, I stand to be corrected, that the EFF might be open to be part of a coalition of sorts with the ANC.
Mm-hmm.
Now, but just to backtrack, right? Do you think the ANC and the Democratic Alliance, mindful of their, let's say, political ideologies, do you think that they can make it work?
I don't think so.
Why
I
not?
don't think so. Because, okay, well, first of all, we need to ask who are the Democratic Alliance? And when you understand that the Democratic Alliance are really the former National Party, the former masters of apartheid, and also with liberals who maybe didn't agree with everything the National Party did, but they are white people and were happy to live under it. The Democratic Alliance basically are the white racists who created the apartheid system. So for you to have them, offer them a seat in the national government of national unity, but not offer Nkubto Sizwe the seat of the spear of the nation, and the EFF are not a seat, is something got to be wrong there. Why would you, unless you're happy to have a seat with the former racists who killed Stephen Biko, locked up Mandela, the PACM? Why would you sit down with these people, the murderers of African people, and then you're happy to sit with them, but you don't want to sit with the other Africans? That's some crazy. So why would that be? I think because of a lot of these other parties that were formerly ANC members, so they have a big grudge with them. But let's be serious. Should you have a big grudge with other Africans who don't agree with what you're doing, or should you have a bigger grudge with the creators of apartheid, the outright racists? So we need to. These are questions we need to answer.
But some might
ahead.
disagree. Some might disagree with you because, if I'm not mistaken, the Democratic Alliance, right? They are in the majority of the what do we call it? The council in Cape, in the Western Cape, I think it is.
Right.
And they are informing everyone that Western Cape works. High employment. It's safe. People are able to live freely. What do you say to those statements?
Well, the Western Cape will work because, as we said, they control the handles of the wealth in the country. So when everybody's moving in the same direction in a particular area, then things are going to work. I think that's the main reason. But, to say that these same people were the creators of apartheid, how was the country working then? Have you ever seen these people say, we are sorry for what we did? We're going to make sure that, yeah. So this party, they had 21%, 21.8% of the vote, the National Alliance or the Democratic Alliance. One of their weaknesses is that the black people of the land, they do not trust the alliance because they know exactly who they are, and that they just want to privatize everything So they get further control of all of the banking, the insurance companies, all the wheels of wealth. They want to make sure that they grab onto more of them, really. So I've got a feeling that is the issue there. I cannot trust these people. The old thing that a leopard doesn't change its spots. A leopard can change its spots in the fact that we do see people who do change, but there is no evidence to show that these people have changed, and they just want to grab more and more and more power. They own the land, they own many of the different areas of wealth creation of the land, and making sure that black people do not get it. So I cannot trust these people. We must learn from our history. Otherwise, we will make the same bad mistakes again if we do not learn the lessons of history. We learn from history because we learn that these are the good things from history. Let's follow these good things. But the bad things happen in history. We cannot ignore those bad things. Otherwise, we will definitely make the same bad mistakes again. So we cannot say that I understand what you're saying. Oh, things are working good in the Western Cape for the Western Alliance, and there's high unemployment there, which is good. But remember, these are the people who used to run the whole country. What was the state of the country then? We cannot forget the past. We cannot forget the past, because the past educates you about the potential future of the nation. So they create the illusions for you. We know what they do to make us believe, oh, things are good. Yeah, come this way. And before you know it, what did they do to the nation before, when these same people had control of the nation? Where is the wealth from the country? One of the richest countries in the whole world. Why didn't African people get some of that wealth? Who is the richest guy in the world, they say now? Elon Musk. Where did he get his wealth from? His daddy. Where did his daddy get his wealth from? South Africa. So when they talk about he's the richest man in the world, nobody talks about where this wealth came from.
Correct.
Yeah. You still get African people sleeping on the floor while people are in these kind of gated communities living the life of, so many people are Christians. I think 80-90% of South Africans are Christians, but these churches are offering heaven in the future, while these people in the gated communities are having their heaven now on earth. There's got to be something wrong there. We need to be having a piece of that paradise on earth in our own land, in the land of our ancestors. So I think these are the questions we need to ask.
Okay. Brother Hilongwandunge, your thoughts,
Brother
please.
Bakari, yes,
Your thoughts, please.
I changed. I was having a problem of network, but I changed now the location. It's fine now.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah.
So continue sharing your thoughts with us with regards to the developments in South Africa, especially in light of the recent elections.
Yeah. I was hearing my senior king Jegna answering the question you asked, why ANC don't want to work with the MK. As I already stated that, this Pakistan, the Pakistan is a system, a systemic which is put in to divide the black people, not to work together. Yeah, if you just follow well, most of the political party, strongest political party in South Africa, they come from ANC. Why do they come from ANC? Are they our friends? They become enemies. Brothers, they become fighting each other in ideology. They starting fighting each other because of economy. And this is just a system that was put in to block our unity. Yeah, that's why you will not find these people working together, uh, because some parties are more revolutionary. They are demanding what the colonizer don't want to hear. And the ruling party, they sign those agreements, which is protecting those rights and the resources of the colonizer. There is where the problem is, because we can't work together. If I'm a revolutionary and you are a slave in those hands of those one who colonize us, it will be a problem of working together. Yeah, that is the one of the point which I see there. And then I think the other point where these people cannot work together is the way that the the president of ANC is the one who have got to differ with other two presidents. I'm talking AFFA and the MK. You know, if you follow back the history, what happened, it is this president, current president, who have got a problem with the others. That's why one party is demanding that if you are working together, this president must go. And the other one is said, if you are working together, we want our land back. And the problem that we are having in Africa, we are becoming hungry, Africa and all Caribbean, because our land is stolen. Namibia and South Africa, 78% of land is owned by the white people. Those former colonizers, they own land. The industrial, 80% of industrial owned by the whites. The market, 80% is owned by the whites. You see, how do you think a, a, a black person, a black man who is in his own country to survive? He don't have rent. He don't have a industrial. He don't have even a school. We don't have even schools. Even education. Education what we are having is formed up by Netherlands Church, the Church of Netherlands. The Cape Education is a private education for Netherlands Church. You see, we don't have anything because we are still under colonization. And the DA, they are the owner of the constitution that is ruling South Africa. The constitution was not drafted by ANC. It was drafted by DA, and they give it to the government. So if we follow there on during the campaign, the DA banned the flag, the new flag for South Africa, and some other revolutionary they banned the constitution because the constitution is for the white people to defend their rights and to force their laws in black people. That's my view.
So then, what are the alternatives then?
Okay, well, okay. My brother Hilongwandunge, I love what you just said, and you speak the truth, my brother. So, like
If
most election, like
or the way
Nigeria,
forward is like, as I'm saying, that when people are not voting, it's showing that freedom is near. Because when people are not going to vote, the politic will die. Politic of the day, this democracy will die. The people will stand up and going to ask their own rights. If you just check the population, the percentage of the people who not go to vote, and the people who never got a registered cards, if they come together and stand and ask a constitution or a revolutionary whereby they want to change that constitution to bring up their new constitution, it will not be difficult. because they are majority. There are more millions. Yeah,
But
that's only the way to go.
how do you organize and mobilize such a large segment of the population who did not vote? Because if it was as easy as you say, surely it would have taken place much sooner. Don't you agree?
Yeah, it's easy. It's easy because African are uniting through their kingdoms. In South Africa, is one chief who is not interested with any government things. Either is salary, either is law, either is he is having his own state, living with his people. Yes, and they currently even now after the election, all the kingdom they were coming together and discuss. I not get what do they discuss, uh, but they were discussing about the way forward to get their land back. But the way to get their land back is only when they destroy first the constitution. If they make a constitutional referendum, it's only when they can get their land back, the all resources. I think soon it will come. In Namibia also we start the same. We have got revolutionary through our kingdoms, and people are coming together, and people are they see the way forward. You will just see in 2 3 years to come what is going to be happen to Africa, or even if what I'm saying, because it's already started up in Kenya. Revolutionary is already there, although it's a bit of some issues in Kenya. Uh, because they are still in democracy, they are fighting democracy with democracy. But if they understand to jump out of democracy and make a straight new revolution, Africa will be free soon.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
yeah, well, if I can say that, I mean, you could argue one of the remedies for so many, if not 99% or 92% of them, is the unity of African peoples. Because you just imagine if the ANC, the EFF, the KwaZulu, Comfortable Seasway, came together and they said, we are going to change the constitution because it was given to us. And they shouldn't hide this. They should say it loud and clear to everybody. The constitution was put in place by Mandela working with Europeans to basically help the people drafting it, to help them. Because as I was going to say, in Nigeria, Kenya, Ghana, when the Europeans, this is the British mostly, said, okay, yes, we're going to give you independence, and this is how it's going to go. So the oppressor, they decided how the constitution would work. They decided what the structures of the new land, the new government, the new nation would be. And we've never been brave enough to come together and say, we did not write this, so we are going to amend it now because we are the leaders, we are the majority of the country, or we have the majority in parliament, we have the majority in the elections. And they need to sit down and bang their heads together. Somebody needs to bang their heads together to say, this is how it's going to be. So they need to do it constitutionally, using democracy. When, this is a slightly different conversation, is that when Sheikh Anta Diop, the scientist in Senegal, when he argued that, well, the Nile Valley civilization was African people, he used science to put his argument. He didn't say, well, I think. He used science, and they could not argue with him because he used science. Similarly, in African countries now, when they want to say, this is what we are going to do, we are using, they say, we can't argue against us because I'm using democracy. And we were voted in and we have the majority. So we are going to change the constitution because we are the democratically elected government now. So obviously, in Azania, they lost the majority. But however, with the EFF and with the Umkhumto Sizwe, the MK party, they are the majority people. They have the majority vote. So rather than arguing amongst yourself petty, well, Bakari, I don't like the shirt you wear, and Ilan Dongwe, I don't like the shoes you wear, we're arguing over silly things. We should say we have differences, but let's come together around what we agree in. And the thing that we all agreed is Africa's must be ruling, because this is our land. This is the land of our ancestors. So no party agrees with everything, but you must come together and agree around the important things. And the important things is African unity, African nationalism for African people. This is where we need to go. I mean, can I just read a document very quickly? No, I won't read the whole document.
No, of course. Go right ahead.
One of the key persons in apartheid system, remember, was President Botha. And President Botha, he made a speech once in private to his cabinet. And just to give this, I'm going to read some of it. I can't read it all, it's quite long, but let me give an idea of who these DA people are, Democratic Alliance, because these are, and this is historic, these are the National Party and other white people who they might not have liked what the National Party was doing, but they lived under it and they, so let me just read this. This is what Botha said. He said, Pretoria has been made by the white man for the white man. We are not obliged in the least to try and prove to anybody that we are superior to black people. We have demonstrated it that the blacks, to the blacks in 1,001 ways. The Republic of South Africa that we know today has not been created by wishful thinking. We have created it at the expense of intelligence, sweat, and blood. Were they Africans who tried to eliminate Australia Aborigines? Are they Africans who discriminate black people, calling them nigger in the United States? Are the Afrikaners discriminating blacks in England as well? We use the South law. So he's saying they call us all these bad things, but he said all these nations of the world, they've done equal bad things to black people as well. So he goes on, Canada, France, Russia, Japan, they all pay their discrimination too. Why in the hell then with so much noise made about it? Why are they biased against us? I'm simply trying to prove to you all that there is nothing unusual with what we are doing, that the so-called civilized world are not doing. We are simply an honest people who have come out loud with a clear philosophy of how we want to live in our own white life. We do not pretend like other whites that we like blacks. That the fact is, the fact that blacks look like humans beings and act like humans beings do not necessarily make them sensible human beings. Hedgehogs are not porcupines and lizards are not crocodiles, simply because they look alike. If God wanted us to be equal to the blacks, he would have created us all a uniform color and intellect, but he created us differently, whites, blacks, and yellow, the rulers and the ruled. Intellectually, we are superior to the blacks. That's been proven beyond any reasonable doubt over the years. I believe the Afrikaner is an honest, God-fearing person who has demonstrated practically the right way of being. Nevertheless, it is comforting to know that behind the scenes, Europe, America, Canada, Australia, and all the others are behind us, in spite of what they say. For diplomatic reasons, we all know what language they use. So basically it's saying we're all the same people. But let me go here. We speak about what happened in the election. Let me read this part down here. He goes on, he says, hence we have good reasons to keep all the Mandelas and let them rot in prison. I think that we should be commended for having kept them alive in spite of what we have at hand, which we could use to finish them all off. I wish to announce a number of new strategies that should be put into place to destroy the black bug. We should make use of chemical weapons. Priority number one is that we should not, by all means, allow them any more increases in the black population, lest we are choked by them. I have exciting news that our scientists have come with an efficient stuff I am sending out more researchers in the field to identify as many venues as possible where the chemical weapons could be employed to combat any further population increases. The hospital is a very strategic opening. For example, and we should be fully utilized. The food supply channel should be used as well. So when you actually hear what these people speak amongst, remember, he was speaking to his cabinet. When you hear what these people said amongst themselves, that's what we should do. He says, we are also investigating the merit of a uterus. He's saying that we should kill the black babies in hospital. But he also said that we need to create things, we need to use money to pay them. So blacks kill blacks. We need to work out strategies which makes black people kill black people. That's what he says. And this is like in 1980, something like that. So when you see South African blacks saying, well, we don't like Nigerians and Zimbabweans and all this whole thing, they've been doing this for many, many years. Do you hear these people saying, we need to get rid of whites? We need to get rid of Chinese? We need to get rid of Japanese? No, but black people are saying, we need to get rid of black people. The same black people who helped them fight apartheid. When apartheid was killing them, is all the other African nations help these people, help them. But now they've turned against them. Why we turned against them? According to Botha, we developed strategies which will make them kill each other and hate each other. So this is straight from the horse's mouth, I'm saying there. So number one, you hear how they speak about us. Number two, you hear about their strategies. They want to kill babies in the hospitals. We've got chemical weapons to destroy them, and we need to develop strategies so they fight each other. Do I need to say any more about the National Party of who this Democratic Alliance are?
Well, you know, what is interesting is the amount of funding the Democratic Alliance has received and from whom they received the funding from. One of the corporations or the families is the infamous Oppenheimer group, you know, and this is a name that is very present across the continent of Africa, particularly from the early stages of colonialism, you know, known for extracting so much mineral wealth for their own, you know, for their own purposes to build up their generational wealth. So that's something that really caught my attention. And what also caught my attention, my brothers, is when the announcement was made, or it was kind of hinted that there might be a possible coalition between the ANC and the EFF, the financial markets was triggered. You know, the rand lost some value, and some investors was very jittery because according to them, that coalition would not be stable. So with the news of the coalition between the ANC and the DA, amongst others, you know, they were somewhat satisfied and assured, you know, according to them, that they would see stability. But I'm wondering how would and next to that was the number of ANC members that protested against the coalition between the ANC and the Democratic Alliance. So it's really a lot of things is going on, you know, that gives so many hints and clues that this might not be the best arrangement, you know, for many persons. Okay. So that remains to be seen. And just this week, we learned about some letters coming from the office of the Democratic Alliance that was mysteriously leaked to the media. You know, these letters, from what I understood, the DA wanted to negotiate various positions within the governments, making some demands, you know, for key positions. And of course, the ANC says that legally it's not possible, you know. So that has also created some uneasiness, because on one hand, the Democratic Alliance has accused political parties in the past of only thinking about self, right? And here we see it, that they are demanding much more than the, how you say, what they are demanding doesn't reflect the amount of votes they received. And we see the tactics being employed in a hope of trying to gain public support or maybe even sympathy, you see. So we definitely have to watch those issues very closely, because it's a telltale sign of in whose interest this coalition might be serving.
It's a very good point. I didn't hear about that leaked
Yes.
letters or leaked information. I didn't hear about that, my brother.
Yes, it has been quite an eventful week, and I would encourage you and of course our viewers to pay close attention to the contents of those letters and the insights from professors and legal minds in Azania is quite insightful. You know, so I would definitely invite persons, because it goes to show when politicians are in front of your face, it's all about kumbaya and working for the people. But behind of the scenes, they are busy dividing the spoils. They are busy seeking ways to capture the towering heights of the economy. Okay.
Right.
And truth be told, and this is coming back to what you said earlier, Brother Jegna, truth be told,
Yes.
again, from what I'm reading and observing, some people are concerned that this alliance might revive racial tensions. You see, because remember, the persons of European extract is about what, 6%, 7% of the total population. Okay, and the concern is that if they were to gain a very strong and significant foothold within the seats of power, they are fearful that they might see, you know, something that they have long tried to forget since apartheid. You know, and just to be clear, in my humble understanding, apartheid did not end. In my humble understanding,
Yes.
it has morphed and evolved into a different beast. Okay, because
Exactly right.
it's still in place. But at the same time, because South Africa has a very vibrant, population. They are not unfamiliar with struggle. You see, I have seen how the Confederation of Trade Union Movements, have organized and put so many dents in the ANC after we saw what happened when the land miners lost their lives in the reaction.
The
So there are
police
so
shot them.
many,
Yes.
yeah, there are so many things which I think, and here's where I agree with Brother Hilongwandunge, that very soon I believe that we are seeing the conditions being created, for a group, to emerge or to be re-inspired, to find ways to take back control of the economy, right? And hopefully not become the oppressor that they are now trying to get rid of.
Yes.
I kind of foresee that. I'm hearing that the unions are thinking about organizing a political party, and there are a few others, in between. So that could be very, very interesting. But at the end of the day, I think, and again, I'm speaking from a privileged position because I'm not on the ground, but I really believe in my heart of hearts that with proper organization, our family could make a huge difference. But at the end of the day, the real winners, if I may say, would be the 42% or the 46% who did not vote. That is a very strong message.
Yes.
That's a very, very strong message, you see, and it really begs to question the legitimacy of what we are seeing now. You know, I don't know, Brother Hilongwandunge. What do you think?
Uh, oh, yes, it's a very, very strong message. I only want to go back a bit of on the 2 point you have raised up. One point is from King Jegna saying the constitution was drafted under Mandela's supervision, which is not the truth. The constitution was drafted long back ago, 1927, during Mandela, during this 1994 independence. They only removed the racial congregation that blacks must not be here. Black, they only remove their laws which is say blacks that the rainbow nation. Yeah, the constitution is a law, is long time ago. Up to now, in Namibia and South Africa, we have laws which is stating that the law of 1917, law of 1927, 1930, we are still uh, judged according to those laws of the Boers. Our whole judicial, nothing new. What is
Mm-hmm.
new is what the black people just they say what they are amended. But when they are amending it, they are not amending it in the favor of other black. They make it harder than how the whites were. Yeah, when they are amending it, they make it harder or they make it more destructive, like how they amend this sexual bill or whatever, this homosexual bill. You see? Yeah. Uh, the other point I want also to raise is the funding. You know, the funding of all parties. We are in Africa. We are funded by Western. Whenever there is a election in Africa, the Western they are making sure that they fund those political party, and they
Yes.
even create some new so that their democracy will work. And you see, when their democracy will work because uh, whenever black people are starting dividing themselves, like what is happening now to South Africa, they are becoming weak, and these white people they are coming up, like how they come up now. That's only the way because we are already majority. It's a tactic, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's just better that if we leave the system to paralyze and die, and then we stand and see, like what like to be said. Uh, and then we make our own system because we have already a system. We already have got the kingdom which is standing. Yeah. And even these leaders, they are coming from kingdoms.
Yes.
We need just unity. And then if we get unity together, I think Africa will be free.
But what
And
does unity mean, my brother? What does unity
yeah.
mean right now today as we see it? Because I, for one, I hear many speeches about unity,
Mm,
right,
mhm,
on a global level. But when I
mhm,
see how it is practiced amongst African
mhm,
states, I see something
mhm.
totally different, and I'm sure you will agree with me on that. Okay, so what
Yes,
exactly does African unity mean at this particular stage?
correct, correct. African unity at this stage, when it comes to states, you know, state they will not find unity in a democratic way. You understand? Because the same people who divide us, who give us those countries, those are not the countries. Those were colonial, colonial area for them. It's not countries. Are the same people who give us the system. We can't unite. They don't want us to unite. But we should. We are going back to our roots. We are going to unite from our kingdom and come up. If we start united through our kingdom, it's only the way, because our kingdom, they are not having limit. They are not limited from one boundary. If you start from South Africa, you come to Namibia, it's one kingdom. You come to Zambia and Tanzania, they have one kingdom. And it come to Uganda and it come to Kenya. It's the same. DRC, we have one kingdom.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
that is the way we are doing now, we are uniting through kingdom, not through government. We know in the government we cannot succeed.
And what is the name of the kingdom, my brother, for those who might not know, including myself?
No, uh, we have Zulu kingdom in South Africa. We have Xhosa kingdoms. We have more kingdoms. Venda kingdom. But when we talk about Venda kingdom, they come up to Zimbabwe, and that Venda kingdom from Zimbabwe, they are also one side of Uganda. We have also
Okay.
vendors there. And if we have got the Zulus in South Africa, we have also Zulus in Namibia, and we have Zulus in Zambia. You understand? Yes,
Yes. Yes.
that's what we mean.
Okay. Okay.
Uh,
Because I
Yes,
mm,
go ahead, brother
it's
Jegna.
the
Go
same
ahead. Go
like
ahead.
yeah.
I was going to say that I
In
mean,
in, in
I've been doing
Namibia,
some, mhm.
yeah,
Let me just say a few words, my
yeah. In
brother
Namibia,
Ilan Dongwe, yes? Give me a
okay,
few moments, please,
okay,
King. And I've been doing some research on the pre-African forms of government before the colonizer came in to manipulate our minds and impose their system of government on us. And all the systems are so much the same. It doesn't matter if you go to the Ashanti, West Africa, it doesn't matter if you go to the Congo, more Central Africa, doesn't matter if you go to uh, Southern Africa. These systems are all so much the same, very much. And I've got details on that. So I mean, even the writer of Destruction of Black Civilization, Chancellor Williams, he said when he was going to university and he was studying, I think it was Oxford or Cambridge, and one of his old colonial professors, he says, yes, we had to go in there and stop African democracy. So he said, when he heard that, his ears pricked up. He said, oh, you're trying to say that there was democracy there. So when you go into it, yeah, we divided our nations or our kingdoms, whatever it is, because when our kingdoms grew into empires, we still divided it, we still organized it the same way. They had the different regions, and in each region they had representatives. And it broke down again, and you always had council of elders, you had local representatives, and the people in the village and the town would speak about their own ideas, and that be fed to the next bigger body above them. And then all these ideas will always get back to the ruling people, the elites, the king, wherever it could be, or the queen, because of matriarchal societies. So when you check these systems, and you talk about the Venda and the Zulu, they had very, very similar systems and their own ways. Because some of them was a kingdom, so you had the king. The king used to run. He was the top, obviously the top person, the king and the queen. However, below them, they would have what we call today democratic structures together, where people were able to speak, discuss, organize, and then feed it back to the higher levels above you. So the smallest level was a family. And then the families, the collection of family will be the village, and the village will go to the region. So basically, the strongest form of any nation is the family. But then we extend it till it got up to the king. So I do agree. So that we had our own systems of government. And when you check, for example, I learned this at university, they said, oh, democracy started with the Greeks. But when you study what the Greeks had, only 10 to 15% of the people could vote. And these were the white men, or the men. The women couldn't vote, the slaves couldn't vote, and the majority of people were slaves. So that's why in South Africa they had like 10 to 50% during apartheid. That is really the Greek system. Only 10 or 50% of people can vote and they've got all the power. So we cannot have that type of system. We didn't have that system across Africa where the one set of people ruled everybody and dominated everybody. There were systems in place to make it more equitable. And let's say it was perfect, but it's perfect for us. Why? Because we're Africans and our system's perfect for us. We're not Europeans. We don't need those systems imposed on us. And if I can say something, I did a bit of research here about the MK party. One moment, I'm just going to read this. But the leader of the MK party, sadly, he was formerly in the MK, where during the ANC they used to go to Russia, they used to go to Cuba and learn tactics to come back and fight. So the original MK were the fighting out of the ANC. So he created the MK party to continue with the African values and the kind of freedom fighter values. So he make it to a party. So if I can just read this. So John Kloppe, he was a judge. Apparently he was disbarred, so he did something wrong, yeah? Anyway, but he talks about Africanizing South African law. So this is the MK party. They said they want to Africanize African law. He is advocating for the integration of African values, principle, and he's still around and he's still a major, he is the chief whip of the MK party today.
Okay.
We want to adopt principles and customary law into the legal system, he said, which has been predominantly influenced by Western legal traditions due to colonial history. Roman Dutch law forms were at the core of South African law since 1562, when the Afrikaners went there. Yeah, originally they just had like a drinking station, a food station, where they stop off, but then they imposed their law there, and then it got changed significantly when the British took over from the Boers, and this is like 1806. So the laws in South Africa now is Roman Dutch law with the British constitutional principles put on top of it. So what John Kloppe says, this is the principle what he said. He says that number one.
Yes. That's what I was saying.
Okay. Well, let me just read this one minute. Yeah?
Correct.
I'll let you comment. He says, this is what John Kloppe says of the MK party. He says, we want to incorporate customary law. He's emphasized the need to recognize and incorporate African customary law into the formal legal system. Customary law, which is based on the traditions and practices of indigenous communities, should be given equal status in common law. He goes on to say, African values. He argued that South African legal system should reflect the values, cultures, and philosophies of the majority of African population. This means developing laws and legal practices that are more in tune with the social realities and moral perspectives of African societies. He says that we must decolonize the judiciary. He says that Africanizing the law, it means decolonizing the judicial system, the law system, which means moving away from Eurocentric legal frameworks and interpretation. This includes training judges and legal practitioners to understand and apply African customary laws again and principles. He goes on to say that social justice, he says that Africanization with the pursuit of social justice, suggested that legal systems should be rooted in African values, would be more responsive to the needs and the rights of the disadvantaged and marginalized groups. And the last one here is the language. He says another component is making the legal system more accessible to ordinary South Africans, potentially through the use of indigenous languages in legal proceedings and ensuring that the legal processes are understood by the citizens. So he said to use African tongues in the system as well. So you can see the MK party is a big move to Africanize the system, the legal and political system within South Africa. That's another reason why the ANC should have a unity with the MK party and the EFF to really take back the country. Yeah, I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there. But that, yeah, this is what Afrocentricity International argue, to Africanize wherever we are, and particularly in Africa.
What's the name of the professor? What is the name of the professor?
You mean in the MK party?
Yeah, the brother who wants to decolonize the legal system.
Right. His name is John Clopey. Pronunciation, but that'sHlophe. But you pronounce it Clopey, but it's Hlophe. John Clopey, and he's a chief.
Okay,
He's the chief whip of the MK party presently.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's a very I
Uh,
have to dig deeper into that information. I
Mm.
think it's quite interesting, you know? I think
Yes.
it's
Yes.
quite
Yes.
quite interesting.
And again, African Century International. When you spoke about what is
yeah.
unity, African Century International believe that by Africanizing our surroundings and we judge everything through our values, our history and culture, this will bring this through education, this will bring unity. But when we see that we have the same values together, same culture together, the same history together, this will bring unity. But if I think I'm a Muslim and you're a Christian and Ilam Dongwe is animist, that's a term allowed to use, traditional African religion, then we've got reasons to divide ourselves. But when we all say, actually, we're all together, we're all African people, this is what helps us to unite. So it's education is a key to it, and Africanizing everything we do. I've done speeches here. I say, people, to educate your children, you need to Africanize your home. Your home must be full of books, films, fabrics, posters, images of Africa. So when they walk through your house, they see a powerful image of Africans everywhere, males or females everywhere. They see all the powerful books and films and TV. You must take them to African festivals, Kwanzaa festivals. You must have a rites of passage.
Uh,
Work out ways to Africanize ourselves again. Because even in Africa, unfortunately, we've been Europeanized. Please go ahead, my brother Ilang Dongwe. Please go ahead.
yes, brother Jegina, the statement you read now from the politician is quite interesting. But what I want to bring up here is that you see, uh, when you talk about Loman Dash law, that is a law which is ruling us, and this law is contrary uh, against our customers' laws because they want to rule us. And those politicians and whoever go to parliament, they have to swear on the constitution and ask about God of Israel to help them, or whatever. He swear to defend the constitution of republic, that the constitution of Roman Dutch law. How we bring that statement, they want to change if he swear to defend that same constitution. You know, it's if politicians are, you cannot really follow them that this political party is doing well, this political party is talking well. They
Yes,
only
yes.
talk well because they want us to vote to them.
Very true.
But the system, if you swear, if you have this, you say, I'm swear to defend this. How will you make a turn up to destroy it? They
I
are
agree
lying
with
to
you
us.
saying. If they're part of
Yeah,
the system and they get their power from the system,
yeah.
they don't destroy the system. They want to protect that system. Is that what you're
They are
saying?
protecting that system. Yes.
Yeah,
They are only
yeah.
talking because they want who are listening from far to say, yeah, that is a party we need to go and vote next time. That's the party which is speaking. But they are all the same. Me,
Yes.
I'm only talking to someone who say no to voting, no to political parties, uh, and back to our own uh, laws and nature law, whereby we
Mm.
have our kingdom. We grow from our kingdom and we start following our laws. All those politicians, they are the same, either it's ANC or whoever. They are all the same. They are there happy for the salaries. They are salary collectors.
Yes,
Thank
yes,
you.
yes. I agree with you, brother. What say you, Bakari?
Well, we have a similar structure here on St. Martin where elected officials are required to swear, and I'm going to paraphrase, but they are basically making an oath to represent the king. We have a very strange,
What king's that? What king you talking about?
the king of the Hague. Okay, we have a very strange construct.
Right.
They
So
say
that's Dutch. That's Dutch again. The Dutch.
that's correct. That's correct. St. Martin my island is controlled politically by the Netherlands. At least one half of the island is controlled by the Netherlands, and the other half of the island is controlled by Paris, by France.
Ooh.
Okay.
Netherlands are the same people who are at Southern, who are at South Africa and Namibia.
Oh, we
They're
know
the
that.
same
No.
people.
There's no
Yes.
question about that. There's absolutely no question, no debate about that. We know that. All right. But what I'm saying is that the governor, right, of course, is recommended by the executive branch, but of course he receives his official decree from the king. So the governor is required, basically represents the king on the island. The governor is not elected. He is
Right.
basically put forward as a candidate. And then, of course, he is approved by the king of the Netherlands.
Yes.
All
Yes.
right. And of course, when members of parliament are elected, they are required to do the oath taking. When they say that they do the oath, they represent the king or something to that effect. I mean, I don't even take it serious, because you should be swearing your allegiance to the people, not to the people. But
Exactly.
I mean, that's what it is. I look at it really and truly in two ways. Okay, I do understand that when you're in a particular context, that you may want to, let's say, enter into politics with the hope of making a change in theory. But at the same time, right, because the forces that basically governs the political landscape is so strong,
Yes.
I am unsure at times as to what major and radical reforms a party would be able to make. Okay, for example, if we had to take the example of what's going on in the Sahel, right, and we look at what our brother in Burkina Faso, I think, did, right, the way how he came to power can be a discussion for other Africans. That's not a discussion for me right now. But to see what he is able to implement, right, because he has basically declared real independence from Europe. You understand? So you can use the state set up in order to execute your program, right? But you have to be uncompromising. You see, you really have to be firmly rooted and grounded in your nationalist, patriotic African value system.
Yes.
You
Yes.
understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
We've seen it with Amilcar Cabral. We've seen it with Thomas Sankara. We've seen it with Patrice Lumumba, right? That once they were able to enter, the executive, they were able to implement a number of programs that help the people. So I don't want to be unfair either. You see, I don't want to be unfair. Can we assess their contributions, their performance? Perhaps we can do that. You see, but to me, there are different roads to take when we are talking about complete liberation. That's my take on, and it's no easy answer. And again, I am speaking from a privileged position, if I may call it that way. I have not been confronted with the forces that my brothers and sisters on the continent may have
Yes.
been going through. So from a privilege, But if I have to look at history, can you imagine what life in Congo would have been like had Patrice Lumumba been able to govern? Can you imagine what it would have looked like if Kwame Nkrumah would have been able to govern? You see what I'm saying? Look at what he did in a short amount of time. Now, granted, we may not have enough African leaders of that tradition. We may not have enough. But if I have to look at it, I am saying as revolutionaries, we should explore every avenue. We should consider every avenue, be it as a liberation movement, be it in a political aspect, be it nationalism, cultural nationalism, economic nationalism. We have to explore them. I would not throw out the baby with the bathwater. Looking at history, I would not say discard that and only go with this. I in my studies, the information has not brought me to that as yet.
Mm-hmm. I would say, okay, go ahead, Hilongwandunge. Go ahead, my brother. What you saying?
Yeah. What I want to say is that we are failing to study how the colonizers are working, how these white people are working. I see many people are uprising or are happy, or they are commending like a leader like Kwame Nkrumah. But on my evaluations and my studies, what I see, white people were so much interested in Ghana to give much money as possible that Ghana can develop in 4 or 5 years when Kwame Nkrumah was leading, so that they can be able to sell democracy. If they did very good in Ghana, they can be able now to sell democracy to all countries, because what they are forcing there is democracy to succeed. Yeah. Of course, they have to pump in a lot of money. Factories, whatever is coming. But then what happened when Kwame Nkrumah starting calling unity of his people, unity of his kingdom, unity of what? They
Africa.
toppled him out, because they know it will be a problem when they unite. That is how they work. And I'm happy that my brother Bakari, you mentioned that people, when they go to parliament, even if they have idea, the idea will die because of the system. You can't fight a system within a system. And the Pakistan scam is to defend the system. Now, if you can see, we take the case of South Africa, you can already see that the ANC, DA, and all these parties, they are majority. Whatever it will come to MK, it will be just like you go and make a poem. Nobody will support it. How will you go with it? Nothing you can do. You are still waiting 5 years to go and vote. Maybe you can get majority. You see? And time is just going. And others are also still campaigning. And in your party, others are going to from MK, and the other one will create his own party again. You will become weak and vote after 5 years and 5 years, but nothing you can bring. I'm happy you raise up that point. Thank you. Go on, King Jegna or King Bagari want to.
Well, yeah, I agree. I agree with you, my brother. I agree with you. I'm not going to disagree with what you're saying as well. I think my brother Bakari was saying that when you are within a system, the system's in place already. Boom. Whether you like it or not, you have to work within that system to change the system. But also you need your goal, you need your plan. We've seen that Thomas Sankara, he had a plan of what he wanted to do for women, he wanted to do with children, he wanted to do with land. Thomas Sankara said, do not borrow money from the IMF, World Bank, all the structures.
Thomas Sankara was a soldier. Was not
yes.
in the democracy.
He wasn't a politician. He wasn't a politician.
King Jegna.
Yes.
He was a soldier. He get the government through the coup. He got the
Of course.
like currently leader now. Means he never swear to anybody. But after he swear to somebody, then the problem come.
I hear what you're saying. Because as in Mali now, you have a soldier there, and he's like walking in the lines of Thomas Sankara. He's saying that we need, but because systems are in place, sometimes if you could ignore them completely. However, if they're in place, you might think, okay, let me use this system. What's in place? Because it gives me an area of power to use the system to get my goal. So I think politicians should, which as you said, they all want votes, so they will lie to you. But they should say, this is my goal, 5-year plan. And again, this 5-year thing is the issue, because they know in 5 years' time, they might want to vote you out. Mugabe, who a lot of people hated, because he said it many years, but say your plan is like a 10-year plan, 15-year plan. How can you have a 10, 15-year plan if he's supposed to be having a vote after 5 years? So that is a reason maybe to get rid of this whole Western democracy 5-year, 4-year, whatever the hell it is, so you can get a plan. Because how can I make a 15-year plan if they could vote me out and the Western media and everything will make sure the media all say, get him out. Look what he wants to do. He wants to become a dictator. He wants to be there for 15 years. So you know the powers that be that you're saying that the Oppenheimers would flood money in there. So they control all the media, they control all the newspapers, they control all the ideas to put together adverts in the newspaper, adverts on television to say, well, we don't agree with Hilongwandunge, we need to get him out. So that is the power of the media. And as we said before, we spoke about it, Malcolm X says, the media can make the good guy see the bad guy and the bad guy see the good guy. This is the power of the media as well. So
let me add.
Go ahead.
Let me add something.
Yes.
To continue building upon the point I was making. When I study the legacy of the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, we see clearly that Garvey, as a revolutionary, exhausted and explored every avenue to seek liberation for his people. He used economics, he used politics, he used culture, and so many different avenues. I can show you letters from Papa Garvey where he talks about honoring the King of England at the time, where he's proud to call himself a subject of His Majesty's King. I can see all of those things if we give me 1 minute, King. I continue the conversation. I have a very important call. Okay, just hold on.
Can I say, Hilongwandunge, that the reason that Garvey may have showed some sort of allegiance to the British Crown is that from a child in Jamaica, their mind was manipulated that the royal family is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And they're manipulated to think royal crown, royal king. So they're manipulated. This is what the good thing about the Rastafari and the guy who kind of changed, or the guy, the Howell, who they call the first Rastafarian, he sort of said, we cannot have allegiance to this royal king. That's why we need to look to Africa and look to Selassie, because he's an African king. So there was a movement away from the royal British crown in Jamaica, using the ideas of Garvey from my man Howells that's why we need to go to Selassie. So you can see there's a way that there's a mental way, a psychological way to move the people's minds. I mean, the key to it though is to educate our children from young. I think we could argue it's not hard, and the politicians, you want votes. So, but when you get an African leader who is a military leader, they are probably the best people because they are not politicians and they're not bothered about when the military government take over. they're not bothered about 5 years because they said we're the military. We don't need votes. So if you could get a military leader who's got a plan for 10, 15, 20 years, this is what we're going to do to re-Africanize our country again. This is the person we have to follow. But as we can see, in Nigeria, some of the military leaders, they were for themselves. Look what they did to, what am I looking for? Kwame Nkrumah. Look what they did to, what is the...
Azikwe?
Huh?
Fela
Kuti.
Fela Kuti, okay.
Babangida.
They attacked him. They threw his mother out the window, killed his mother, and that was a military government. So there was about, we are military and we don't know which to criticize us. So there is issues with military leaders if they're not for themselves. And as you know, some of these military leaders, again, they start to fill their own pockets as well, sadly. But
and
it's a tricky
just to add to what I was saying.
Yes.
Just to add to what I was saying earlier, right? So the part when I talked about when Garvey was basically showing respect to the king, right? That was in a particular phase of his life. You see what I'm saying? And as he matured and as he got more serious looking at the race question, trying to identify solutions, he was able to mobilize public opinion and resources, right? After, of course, answering that critical question, where is the black man's king? Where is the black man's government? Why is Africa under colonial domination? You see what I'm saying? And because now he was able to reach the hearts and minds of men and awaken, and I don't want to say because he started it, he continued that tradition, right, of African leaders that restored the confidence in the black man and the black woman that they can rule themselves, is one reason out of many why Garvey was successful. But when you come down later in his life, we see that Garvey was creating a political party. Garvey was approaching the League of Nations, trying to secure land in Africa for our repatriation and things. You see what I'm saying? And those times was tense. You see? So the point I'm just trying to make is that sometimes you have to evaluate where we are. We have to contextualize it, right? And after assessing our environment, explore different solutions. Because what might work in Azania might not work on St. Martin. You see? It might not work. So again, like, let's go back to the article that you read with regards to decolonizing the legal system, right? Who is to say that a young group of Black South Africans, or South Africans in general, who are in agreement with this particular thesis will not mobilize around that? Who is to say? You see? And that in turn can spark the cultural revolution, for example, you know, because it's possible. We've known revolutions to start in cafes. You understand what I'm saying? We know the important role that art plays in awakening the consciousness of people. You see? So I think we really have to explore different avenues. With regards to Kwame Nkrumah, right? Kwame Nkrumah, and let me put this, don't be quick to put Kwame Nkrumah in the category of solely a politician. Don't be too quick, because Kwame Nkrumah supported liberation and armed revolution in terms of providing military assistance, in terms of inviting revolutionaries to Ghana to to regroup for protection and so forth and so on. So I would not limit him within the realm of, he just played politics. And if it meant that he had to engage the Western world for funding so that Ghana can build up certain infrastructure, which still are in existence today, then I think it deserves consideration. You know, I think it deserves, again, we might not agree, but we were not there. We were not under those conditions as to why he made certain, we're talking about 1959 onwards, right? Because Ghana was independent when? March 1st, 57, 59. Yeah,
Yeah,
around silent
yes,
dinner.
50, 57, yes, for sure. Yes,
It's a
yes.
totally different world.
Yes.
It's a
Uh-huh.
totally different
Uh-huh.
world.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
who would he have gotten the
Yeah.
finances from?
Uh-huh.
Because he was kind of standing alone at the time, so it
No,
was
if
hard
you
for him. Let me just say that
Yeah.
I expect
if
every
you follow up,
leader who comes to this
you know,
country, he needs to look at the world around him. He needs to examine all the institutions and the systems around him and then make his decision, which road am I going to take? Because you see a Kwame Nkrumah, and he said, as you said a lot, that Marcus Garvey was a kind of, he learned from Marcus Garvey. He was a nationalist in that, just like Garvey said, do you wear shoes? You need to have shoe factories. Do you want to build houses? You need to have brick factories. You need to make bricks. So he kind of followed Garvey in that sense. Do we wear underpants? Do we wear shirts? We need to make a factory of underpants. So he was about having your own industries and controlling your own industries. I agree he was in the politician thing. However, you need to have a goal and then you need to find out what is the best way to get to the goal. But the fact, you are correct, the fact that he was overthrown was out of country, they said, we can't have this guy talking about a united Africa. We can't have this. So I expect he did have many cloaks, you could say. One cloak could have been he was a student, another cloak he was a follow Garvey, another cloak was he was a politician, the other cloak that he was a Pan-African. We need a united Africa. And as you said, once they see that you're a problem, same thing like,
They get rid of you.
yeah, they will get rid of you, as you know, they'll dust you out. My man, in Tanzania, they got rid of him when he started to, because he was a Pan-Africanist, you can see at heart. And he said, we don't need to listen to the West. We need to follow our road. And that's one of the reasons they kind of got rid of him as well. But we need to examine the world around us and see which is the best road to go.
I
It's
think
not
so.
easy. It's not easy to say tomorrow we're getting rid of all of this government, we're getting rid of all this system, we get rid of all the legal system, the political system. It's not easy. So you need to sit down and discuss which way can you do this. In South Africa, it'd be great to get rid of the legal system tomorrow, get rid of the government system, political system tomorrow. But as you know, things are not easy to, things cannot work like that because you'll just get chaos around you. So you need to have a plan of the which road you are going to follow. So Hilongwandunge, what do you say about that, sir?
yeah, of course, I understand what the King Bakari saying, but what I'm saying is that we must be able to study how white people are working. I'm saying that the white people build Ghana to sell democracy to other countries because only Ghana was independent through democracy. And democracy is a system of the West through United Nations. If we are talking about United Nations, and United Nations, by the time Ghana is getting independence, they are busy with other countries negotiating to give them independence. You understand? And we should not also forget that these people, they do things to sell you out. Same like, when they negotiate with the liberation movement, the United Nations are recognizing the liberation movement. The same United Nations countries, they are supporting those white who are in those countries with arms and ammunition to kill those liberation people. And the other side, they are making agreement with them. They are sending also some help at the back here to help the refugees for those people who are in the liberation. You see,
That's
that
why
is the things that I say.
Mhm.
We should know how white people are working. White people
Yes,
they study us long times. They know if they want to sell you
yes,
out,
yes.
they make you to be the king first, so that others they can follow you. That is what happened. And if you see even our leaders, most of our leaders, those one of who is this one of Kenya, Ruto, the Ruto, the Ramaphosa's,
You're breaking up, brother.
In my
Yes.
country, he passed away now. Hagainikop. These people,
Okay, okay. Yeah, it could be worrying there. Yes, yes. I do not agree. I do not disagree. What my brother Hilongwandunge is saying. You know, I do not
No,
disagree
no,
with that.
listen, it's a great discussion.
That,
It's a
that,
great
that, that,
discussion.
that point he just said, they studied us. So
Yeah,
turn the other, turn it around. We need to study them, which we
correct.
know their things. And you can see from the 1500s, they came to Africa. They went to a leader in the Congo or West Africa. Says, "Yeah, we really like you. We want to do business with you, but you need to become a Christian." And when they made you a Christian, they know that their people will follow them. So we need to understand their tactics. Same way he says that it's really the same
yes, I'm
tactic
back.
that they made. Yes, they made Kwame Nkrumah. Oh, look, democracy. Look what democracy did. They got factories and they got a dam. So they make other people buy into this democracy. So I do agree with what you're saying in London. Well, just saying before when you was wearing there is that they
Yeah.
made certain leaders a Christian so that his people will follow. Say, look, he's a Christian and he's got trade now. He's got money coming in. So maybe we should become Christians. So they do not use, basically, they do not use a different tactic. They use the same tactic. They just adjust it to the system or the time or the age, age happening at the time. So they don't really do anything differently. So the same way they learned, studied us, we must, and many of us do, study them to know the best way. But the unity, again, is to do with education. And the only way to educate our children is to say maybe some of the elder are lost. So we need to start with a new generation and educate the children so the children understand what is right, what is wrong, or what Africans have different cultures, they have different history, they have different values. We need to start from young because we are fooled to believe that we're all the same. My brother Hilongwandunge, what are you going to say?
Yeah, yeah, that is what I was also saying. As you have said it now, yeah, that what we need to learn is just we must learn closely these white people. How do they work? These people are criminal. They are having plans for 5 years. I mean, 10 years, 20 years, up to 100 years. They already plan you. If you see the way they plan African country now, they bring the region. Now people are there confused in the region. They don't know what are they doing. And things are not even going well in the region now. Uh, a lot of fighting is there. They bring to us alcohol, and now we become drugs, and we start best alcohol sellers. We become stupid in this alcohol also. They bring us this democratic politics. We are now fighting and dividing ourselves, but we don't focus to the real things. What make us free? We only focus on fighting democracy, political party, church, these religions. Um they bring us education. We were saying that education is good. Everybody must go to school. Now, if you come to our country, people with degrees and diplomas who are at home, and these people they at school they never learn how to do things themselves. They learn how to be employed. They are now sitting every day. They are sending CV somewhere until some they become security with their degrees, security officers with their degrees. You see, everything they give us is useless, and they were doing it like it was attraction at the beginning. But in the meantime, all it become useless. That's how they are working.
Well,
And
that
before
shows you
they
that we
give you
need to
that,
have our own system in
you
place, our
yes,
own educational
we have
system,
to. Yes,
because we are being educated
yes,
into
of
their
course.
image, so they can control you by us being
Yes,
in their image.
they educate us to become employees, or yeah,
And
employers,
servants
or employee
and slaves.
to the seven, or to them. And this is what happening. Don't you go in the office of Old Mutual, you find a gentleman with a suit and tie. He's just employed, but he tell you that he have got a lot of degrees, but you don't know what he's using that degree. If
Mm.
even if he he got at the old age, he will not even come to the screen like King Jegina here talking about freedom. He will be still a gentleman in his suit because he have got insurance, eating his money, sleeping to the hotels and go and sleep. No worry about anything. We are
Mm.
programmed very bad.
Yeah. I remember the first
Yeah,
time I heard Professor Lumumba. I didn't even know who this guy
yeah.
was. And there's a video, and in the video he says, how come we've got all these degrees and PhDs in
Mm,
engineering and architecture
mm,
and science,
hmm.
but we can't build a road? We bring in the West to build a road. We can't build our own bridges.
Yeah.
We bring in the West to build the bridges. We can't. So
Hmm.
what are we doing in these universities if we spend our money on other people to build the things that we
Yeah.
need? So that just shows you
Mm.
that the educational system was created to enrich those people who gave us the education system. It wasn't made to enrich the
Yeah.
people in whose country this educational system is in. Because even though they said, oh, you got independence, and they left Africa, allegedly, their institutions were still there. So because the institution was still there, they didn't leave. Now that's what we need to
Yes.
understand.
They did not leave. They did not leave. They
So
are not live anywhere.
Yeah,
gentlemen, we're
yes.
hitting it 2 hour
Yeah.
mark. And I'm really loving the
Good.
conversation. I'm really loving the
Yeah.
conversation. I'm just curious, because I know time is of the essence, especially with the different time zones. Where do we go from here when it comes to our beloved Azania? Where do we go from
Hmm.
here?
If I say this as well, because Dr. Melefi Ketiasanti, who kind of created the modern version of Afrocentricity, wrote 2 books, 1980, Afrocentricity, The Theory of Social Change. And when I was interviewing him on the radio once, and I said to him, he said, of all the African nations in Africa, which one you think would Afrocentricity be adopted in first? And he actually said South Africa. He said he spoke in South Africa, and he spoke to professors in South Africa. And he says of all the places he's been to, he said the professors in Africa were more likely to adopt this idea of that we must see the world through our own eyes, for our own values, culture, history, everything else, see what benefits us. And he actually mentioned Azania, but you could see that where we are, what we're speaking about today, where the ANC have lost a majority control with the government, that this thought about Afrocentricity being there hasn't filtered through into the educational system. So Africans are thinking in line with, oh, we are Africans, so we must do everything in line with us being Africans. I saw a video many years ago, and it was at a university hall, and a young guy learning law, and he actually stood up and says, why am I learning all this law? And it's Dutch law. This is Africa, and I'm not Dutch. And this is what the brother said. This is a video. It was already many years ago. So it's not like these are ideas which have been aired before and people believe. So the idea is, how can we put it into being? But the issue is, a lot of these elders, because I mean, look at the president in Nigeria. My man's seriously old, but when the West said to him, well, we don't like what Nigeria's doing, he was ready to put ECOWAS, was happy to put sanctions on Africans at just a click of the fingers of the French president. So that shows you that even though he's an elder and should be wise, he's not following his ancestors, he's following how he's been educated for the West. And then all of a sudden, when they realize with a backlash, oh, they want to be friends with all these leaders now in ECOWAS. But you can see Mali hasn't joined ECOWAS. Burkina Faso, they haven't joined these countries again because they've seen what happened. So we need a brush, I think, a new brush. We need a new brush to sweep away the structures which imprison us. We need, okay, I tell you what I think. We need to de-link. We need to de-link from this Western world. Their institutions, their ideas, their government, their form of governments, their form of economics. We need to delink from the UN. How come no Africans have got a seat on the Security Council? How come the Security Council are full of people who enslaved the world? We Africans need to be brave enough to unite and pull away from the structures and create our own structures. This is the only way. So for South Africa to do it, they need to do this themselves, to pull away from the structures which keeps them locked into a Western way of looking at the world. And they need to put in place structures that make them look at the world through their own African eyes. That might be a quick, simple way of saying it, but ultimately, this is the only thing that can be done. Because how can you move into government of unity with the people who created the system of apartheid? And you know who these people are. It's a madness if you do this. So we need to be able to pull away and create our own structures of government, of thought, of thinking, of acting, of being, of doing. That will be my final words on what Azania needs to do. Pull away and create Africanness. Pull away from Westernness to move towards Africanness, because we are African nation.
All right, give thanks. Give thanks. Give thanks. Hilongwandunge, what are your closing remarks as to what needs to happen now? What direction for Azania?
Yeah, the the way forward is a new revolution must start, and this revolution should start in the minds of people, whereby uh, people will understand their their own. They must have their self-understanding and their own culture, whereby they will come out of belief system and start knowing. It's only when Africa will reach the really uh, um, liberation that we want. If the minds are liberated, and then I think we are going to find Africa with freedom in Africa. That's what I see. Because now the believing system is too much in us. We believe. Everybody say, I believe, I believe, I believe. And we just make speculations, but still we come in the circle. Every 5 years term, we are coming in the same circle where we started again. Thank you.
All right, give
So
thanks.
a revolution of the mind. I'm with that 100%.
Definitely,
Yes.
definitely.
Yes.
I think that's an excellent way, to adjourn this particular discussion, because I really think we ought to have, regular conversations about African affairs, and hopefully bring more attention to what's happening on the continent and how we can play our role and assisting the family on the ground. So I really appreciate the both of you for your time, for your expertise, for your perspectives, and of course we do look forward to having you with us here on Unity and Solidarity once again. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Brother Jegna, I put out the invitations. I'm going to put it out to Brother Ilondugwe also, for us at least once a month,
Okay.
for us to have these types of discussions where we look at what's going on a continent, and raise awareness, and to insert our perspectives into the conversation. So, please strongly consider it, so that we can make it happen.
Can I say, we are
Thank
thinking
you.
of
Really
maybe having a part 2 of this Azania question, maybe
Sure.
bring some people who are feet are on the ground in Southern Africa and get some of their perspective as well. Could be good for doing a part 2.
That's excellent. I wholeheartedly endorse that proposal. Let's set it up. Let's set it up because we can discuss this from so many different angles. And I think it would be to the benefit, to each and every one, myself included, to learn as much as we can about this particular issue, because by informing ourselves, we are 50% of solving the problem. That's what I think. So let's make it happen. Let's make it happen.
Because the people on the ground, us 3 of us, even though we have a lot of ideas and information, we are not in the ground in South Africa. So it could be great to hear people on the ground in South or Southern Africa to hear their perspective as well. Yes.
Well, I will place that assignment in your capable hands, right? Right. So let's connect. Let's connect with the family on the ground. Let's invite them to share their perspectives, and so that we may be better informed, so that we can better inform the global family also. All right. So, brothers and sisters, there you have it. Another impactful conversation. We do hope that you enjoyed it today. Remember, in about 3 hours, which will be 5 p.m. St. Martin time at least, we'll be back. We'll be having our guest, Mr. Khalil Revan, and we will be discussing the impact of a right-wing government in The Hague and what it means for our island, St. Martin. So you definitely want to tune in to be part of that conversation. Remember to like the page, share the page, check out the different podcasts. Whether Hilongo is tired. Right? So please share the link with ones and ones across the globe. And of course, we look forward to having you once again. So from all of us here at Unity and Solidarity TV, do have an enjoyable evening, day further. And of course, we look forward to welcoming you in a couple of hours. All right. I leave you in the words of the most honorable, right and excellent Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Up, you mighty race, you can accomplish what you will. One God, one aim, one destiny. Give thanks.
Ashe, 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 yo.
Ashe.
One love.
Ashe, ashe, ashe. One love, one love.